Are planners not referring you in your market? Let's talk about why. Hi, my name is Guidry, and I'm going to be sharing with you today how to get planner referrals. Before we dive into the content, if you're interested in learning how to price your photography, be sure to visit the links below. We all know there's a bit of an order when a client gets engaged. When a client gets engaged, unless they go straight to their photographer, which does happen on occasion, they will start the wedding planning process with the venue or with the wedding planner. What that means is that as the photographer, you really want those referrals. Sometimes a past client will refer you to a friend, but even with that friend, they're still going to start with their venue and planner. When that happens, that wedding venue or that wedding planner then has the opportunity to refer them potentially to someone else. So you really want to be on that list. I'm going to be sharing with you a few ways to get on those referral lists in a very easy, natural way. Oftentimes, when we think about how to become a planner favorite, we go to things like, oh, let's send them a spa gift card, or maybe it's a discount that we have to give to the client, or we need to give the wedding planner a gift card or money. But really, it's more than that, or less than that, however you want to think about it. It's very simple. Planners want you to do a good job. And if you haven't had the ability to work with that particular planner yet to show them you can do a good job, that's okay. You just need to start doing the things that the planner would want you to do. And I guarantee you eventually you'll have the ability to show that planner you can do a good job. So I'm going to talk about a few things when we're working with a planner that you really want to hone in on and do a good job for, so that way they can refer you for future jobs and you'll be top of mind. The first thing is going to be our timeline. When a wedding planner gives you a timeline, it is imperative that you follow the timeline. I know a lot of times we feel like we need just that extra shot or just these few extra locations. But if you're running behind on the timeline, you're going to be making the wedding planner's job more difficult. In addition, you're going to be setting the client behind. If you feel like you're not going to have time for something, you need to communicate that in advance of the wedding day. So let's actually talk about that. When it comes to the timeline, you are usually going to have the ability to communicate with the planner in advance of the wedding. So probably a week or two before the wedding planner is going to send you the timeline, and you absolutely should review that timeline. It's very easy to just let it sit in your inbox and not take a look at it, but that is the last thing you should do. Open that timeline, take a look. If something feels unrealistic to you, it feels like maybe you don't have enough time, or maybe you need more time to travel one place to another, or you have this specific idea about an image you want to take, be sure to hop on the phone or via email, communicate to the planner in advance of the wedding day. You want to say, hey, I'm not sure that we're going to have enough time to photograph this list of images. I'm going to need about 15 more minutes. But I promise you, it will be way more comfortable to communicate that in advance of the wedding day than on the wedding day. The only thing that happens by not communicating those desires in advance is that the day of the wedding day, you're going to be doing something unrealistic and it's going to set you back. So on the day of the wedding, you really want to follow the timeline. Like I said, it's already been communicated in advance, so you have everything worked out, and next you have to stick to it. If you don't really have the experience yet in knowing exactly how much time you need, you can lean into the planner, but also note that you always want to have more time. So if you feel like you need more time, or maybe even that you think that you won't be able to satisfy the time that you have, then just let the planner know in advance. The day of the wedding, when we're shooting, we're going to stay on track, right? We're going to look at the timeline. We're going to make sure that we know exactly what times we need to do what and stick to it. One thing that I do is that I make sure we screen shoot the timeline onto our phones, and I share that with my second as well. So throughout the day, I'm constantly checking my phone. I'm constantly checking my phone to make sure that I'm staying on target. If there's something that's really important, like a cake cutting or a first dance or something that's happening at a specific time that I don't want to miss, I will set alarms on my phone to make sure that I'm aware of what's happening at that time so I don't miss the event. The last thing you want is a wedding planner looking for you on the wedding day because something important is coming up and they don't know where you are. The client should always know where you are, and the wedding planner should always know where you are. You don't want to make the wedding planner's job more difficult. Another thing that you can do on the wedding day is look for other ways that you can be supportive. Yes, we're photographers and the images are our first most important task on the day of. However, sometimes little things will come up that really won't put you out, and it won't slow you down or prevent you from taking any images, but it can really help the planner. So for example, if you're already walking to the bus and you're already carrying your gear and you're already headed there and you can't stop to take a photo, if you have a free hand and the wedding planner is struggling to carry some things, offer to help. That's a very simple example of a way in which you can be supportive without it preventing you from doing your job. Wedding planners also often need support in corralling people. There's big groups of people, and usually between 1 and 5 members of their team that are doing a lot of things. So again, if you're walking somewhere or you're doing something that is already in the mix of what's happening, you can help the wedding planner by assisting them in corralling everyone into where they need to be. Usually, a referral is going to come from a wedding planner. However, every now and then, as a photographer, you're going to be hired in advance of the wedding planner. When that happens, if it's a client that's seeking assistance in terms of their planning, you can make a referral to that person. When you do that, you're repaying the favor of them usually sending the referrals your way and letting them know that you appreciate them as their service provider and you believe in them as a wedding planner. Being able to refer clients their way lets them know that they're someone that you enjoy working with as well, and that the feelings are mutually reciprocated. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the work. When it comes to wedding planners, you are also photographing for them. So first and foremost, we're photographing for our clients, but after the clients, we're also photographing for the planners. What do I mean by that? Well, the planners are oftentimes in charge of design. And when it comes to design, that means that we have to be good at photographing the details. When you're photographing a wedding day, if you don't have capacity to photograph the details on your own, try to hire a second or even third photographer that you can send ahead, for example, when you're photographing post-ceremony formals, to photograph the details. What that does is it ensures that the design that the wedding planner has put forward is being documented, that they can use those images for their portfolios. That is the greatest gift that you can give to a wedding planner. Way better than a spa gift card or way better than a gift card to go to dinner. You can photograph those images of what they've designed and all the work and effort that they've put forth for that client so that they can then take those images and use them for their portfolio. Believe it or not, I've actually been hired by wedding planners to photograph details at an event that they felt that the photographer wasn't in fact capable of photographing well. If you become good at photographing details or hiring a second that is good at details, that will ensure that you're satisfying not just your client, but also your repeat client, which is the wedding planner. Sometimes your work is going to be more desirable for specific planners. I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with different planners in your market where you're interested in photographing and understand what they're looking for. If, for example, you want to work with a specific planner and it aligns with your style, then that's a great fit. But sometimes wedding planners might not be referring you just because your work isn't a good fit, and that's okay. But really invest yourself, your time and your energy in wedding planners that fit your photography style and will be recommending you to your clients. A lot of times what wedding planners also enjoy seeing is consistency. When they are seeing consistency in your portfolio, they know that if they refer you to their client, that they are almost guaranteed that specific style that they're seeing over and over again. If you're being inconsistent in what you're sharing online, on social, on your portfolio, on your website, then they're not going to have the confidence to really refer you because they're not 100% sure that the photographic style that you're showing is consistent, and maybe if they refer you, then you might do something totally different for their client. They want to know that the style that they see, that the photography that you're showing is going to fit the client and the style that they have. So when you're sharing, make sure that you're being consistent, make sure that you're being consistent in your shooting, and then also, of course, what you're showing. The biggest tip I would give you about planner referrals is not to be discouraged. A lot of times wedding planners have history with other vendors that they've worked with over and over. And just like anything that I talk about here, I want you to know that it's really about the long game. A lot of times they might have their favorite photographer and you might think, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get the opportunity to work with that planner. But if you keep showing up, being consistent and doing a good job, I promise you, eventually you'll get noticed. And when that opportunity comes and you have that chance to work with that planner, Go back to the beginning of this talk. Do all the things that we talked about, following the timeline, being supportive, showing them that you can do a good job for their client, and I promise you, they'll refer you again. Don't forget, if you're interested in learning more about pricing, to visit the links below. I hope this video was helpful. Feel free to subscribe, and thank you so much for tuning in. Happy shooting.